Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44-2, Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a statement as the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Housing and Urban Planning and Public Works regarding the construction of 100 affordable housing units at the constituency level. Mr. Speaker, Article 43 of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to accessible and adequate housing and to reasonable standard of sanitation. Mr. Speaker, that is a provision of our Constitution which was done or promulgated in 2010. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, around 80% of Kenyans are living on houses that do not fit in this particular category of the constitutional provision. Mr. Speaker, the reason why, despite even the above provision of the Constitution, the reason why Kenya has myriads of challenges on issues land and settlement is because of affordability. Many Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, cannot afford to even have to have a reasonable house to live in. And the reason, Mr. Speaker, is because of the high cost of land. In some cases, even land is not available. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we have had so many conflicts in this country, Mr. Speaker. When you look at around 80% of the conflicts that we have, either in the north, either in Lamu, and many other areas in this country, Mr. Speaker, is because of land and settlement issues, which has never been settled for many years, Mr. Speaker. This is because there has been insecurity in land. Mr. Speaker, it has led to also 50% of conflicts that I've seen, Mr. Speaker, can be solved. 50% of the conflicts, Mr. Speaker, can be solved if we were to go the direction of ensuring that the Constitution, Article 43 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, is met. Mr. Speaker, land in Kenya and urban areas has become extremely expensive to rural poor to acquire, causing sprouting slums. Mr. Speaker, a very big percentage of the city dwellers, especially in Nairobi, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Eldoret, are living on slum houses. They are living on slums, Mr. Speaker, which means they cannot afford to live on modern houses, houses that we can really talk of as specified in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Nairobi has the biggest slum almost in East and Central Africa, which is called Kibera. And up to date, Mr. Speaker, there has been so many efforts to ensure that we upgrade those particular slums, Mr. Speaker, but we have had a lot of challenges to the extent that as we speak, so many people are still living in those slums and so many other areas in Nairobi town. Mr. Speaker, these are people on very deplorable conditions. In these areas, Mr. Speaker, there are no proper sewerages, no water, no electricity, no roads, no schools, no toilets, and so many other things, Mr. Speaker. This phenomena is spreading to the rural areas and is threatening to make our urban areas slum cities. Mr. Speaker, we used to be looking or talking of Nairobi alone as areas where it's having slums. But today, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, these slums are coming close by to our villages. It is coming close by to our cities and towns and urban areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kenya's Vision 2030 which was based on economic blueprints, committed the government to build 150,000 house units per year. But this was hampered, Mr. Speaker, by several issues, among them financial constraints, consumer affordability, high speculation on land. Mr. Speaker, we have not been able to manage the 150,000 housing, Mr. Speaker, which was actually put, or which was thought of by the framers of the 2030 vision. Mr. Speaker, affordable housing program was introduced by the current regime, Mr. Speaker. And the reason was to try and ensure that members or citizens of this country, Mr. Speaker, have access to these affordable, modern, decent housing, Mr. Speaker. That is the reason there was a directive to deliver 250,000 houses per year to mitigate the needs. The current house shortfall, Mr. Speaker, is over 2 million That is the shortage of houses that we have currently in the country, Mr. Speaker. Market now produces only 50,000 homes, which means we have a very big deficit, Mr. Speaker. The market, the current market, that is by the private sector, the people who just build their own homes, and people who build to sell, Mr. Speaker, is only giving us around 50,000. The 250, Mr. Speaker, we had thought of, or the government had thought of, is falling short of 200,000. Mr. Speaker, the government plans to restructure housing finance schemes, e.g. the National Housing Fund, the cooperative social housing schemes, to guarantee offtake from the private developers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know members must remember or must have seen the president launching houses, affordable housing in most of the areas in Nairobi City, Mr. Speaker. That program was under what we call PPP, which is private-public partnership, which, of course, Mr. Speaker, a person builds.
Johana Ngeno.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, when you are given an opportunity to give a statement to the House, you read the statement and do no more.
Exactly, Mr. Speaker. That is what I'm doing.
Your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the guidance. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Speaker. I'm not finished, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Johana, the Speaker approved your statement.
Yes, sir.
And my expectation, and indeed the standing orders, is that you read the statement as is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
When you finish, you are spent. You have no capacity to debate your own statement.
Well guided, Mr. Speaker. I've not finished, Mr. Speaker. I've not even debated, Mr. Speaker. I'm just reading.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, affordable housing, Mr. Speaker, affordable housing program is one of the priority areas. Priority number 3, housing and settlement in the government manifesto. The policy direction under priority number 5 are to deliver 250,000 homes. Present, the market already produces about 50,000 homes. The strategy is to deliver an additional 200,000 homes, Mr. Speaker, usually, additionally, or annually. In addition, the government plans to restructure affordable long-term housing finance schemes, including National Housing Fund and cooperative social housing schemes. That will guarantee offtake of houses from developers. This is expected to grow the numbers of mortgages from 50,000 to 1 million by enabling low-cost mortgage of 1 million and below. Honorable Speaker, the affordable housing program has overreaching objectives and as follows. It catalyzes affordable housing sector by undertaking projects on public land, increasing the number of mortgages from under 30,000 to 1 million, integration of micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, and the Juakali sector in the supply chain using ring-fencing strategies. Creating opportunities for alternative action groups, especially the projects where public land is utilized, and creating local area employment opportunities for Kenyans where projects are located. Honorable Speaker, given the position and addictive impact the program will have, the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Speaker, through the Departmental Committee on Housing, Urban Planning and Public Works, Mr. Speaker, protect me from the great ladies around me. Mr. Speaker,
I give you 2 minutes to wind up, Johana.
but you approve this statement, Mr. Speaker, so I have to finish it.
Yes. You've been reading.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, well guided.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the budget through The committee, through the committee, Mr. Speaker, requested for a budget of 6 billion through the supplementary budget, Mr. Speaker, 22-23, in the first phase of the program to catalyze the housing construction and achieve quick wins. Through the budget, Mr. Speaker, the Appropriation Committee reports a report on supplementary budget, Estimate 1. The House adopted to allocate around 1 billion towards this particular project, seed money to start the project to create new homeowners at the local level. Mr. Speaker, the affordable housing will have a local economic stimulus. And this, Mr. Speaker, under the program, Mr. Speaker, the national government will work with the National Assembly to fund the construction of 100 units, housing units per constituency, targeting new homeowners at the constituency level. With 290 constituencies, Mr. Speaker, nationwide, this is a potential of 29,000 housing units, representing the potential to create a new generational homeowners at the local level. Mr. Speaker, the program will require the members of parliament, members of this House, Mr. Speaker, the National Assembly, to identify suitable government land for the projects to reduce the final cost of the economic recovery, the final cost of homes to buyers. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, since the program has a broader aim of local area construction, the program will also require members of parliament to assist in the organization, identification, and cooperation of these Juakali association groups of youth, women, and persons living with disabilities, and other affirmative action groups in readiness to take an opportunities in the upcoming housing project. So, Mr. Speaker, last but not least, labor for the projects will be ring-fenced so that the workers will be recruited from the local area where the projects are located, and the program will also adopt the affordable housing program to utilize the Juakali sector and MSMEs in the local areas to provide for employment or empowerment components for housing. Mr. Speaker, the request to the members of this House, Mr. Speaker, is to provide the piece of land, identify the land, and the titling, and so that the ministry can begin commencing the building of these houses.